What's up, everybody? It's Kovarks here, back on the Kovarks Sports channel, and today we are going to be giving you our predictions for the Texas A&M Aggies and LSU Tigers in 2021. Texas A&M was a playoff contender last year. LSU, after winning the national championship, was not, and we'll get into that soon. I do want to say before this video starts, make sure to check out my brand new podcast channel. I'm doing it with my good friend Brivical. That'll be linked down below. Depending on when this gets uploaded, I'm pre-recording these. The first episode could already be out. It may not be, but it is coming out very soon. So if you like college football, and I assume you do if you're watching this, make sure to go and subscribe to that so that way you can hear more of our opinions. Also, Brivical's channel will be linked down below, so make sure to go check him out. And let's go ahead and get into the video. So Texas A&M in 2019 went 8-5, then a much better season in 2020 with a 9-1 record as they beat North Carolina in their bowl game. They start the year up against Kent State. That should be an easy win. And then I saw one on the scheduling stuff that it said at Colorado, but it also said it was at Mile High in Denver. So I'm not quite sure if it's considered an away game for A&M and a home game for Colorado, but it's at a different stadium. I'm not quite sure, so I put a question mark. Either way, I think Texas A&M will win. I just think they're the much better team. And I also think they beat New Mexico to start 3-0. Then they have Arkansas, who normally gives the Aggies quite a bit of trouble, but Arkansas is getting better, but so is A&M. I think the Aggies should be able to take care of business and win that one, as well as Mississippi State, and they will move to 5-0. I know Mississippi State's before Alabama, so you can't be looking ahead to the Crimson Tide, but it's at home. I think that's enough to get them the win. It could be close, but I think the Aggies will get it done. Speaking of the Alabama game, if you saw my Alabama predictions, you already know who I have picked. The thing about this one is that I feel like Alabama's going to trip up, kind of like my Ohio State predictions, where I have them losing to Indiana. I feel like the schedule's hard enough for Alabama for them to lose one game. That's more likely than them going undefeated in my eyes. And the most likely game is to A&M. A&M can absolutely win this game. It's at home. They're almost as good as Alabama, who lost a lot. Very tough place to play. I think Texas A&M is ready to get that huge program-changing win, and so that I have them starting 6-0. However, they've got Missouri next, and Missouri, I think, is a sneaky good team. They're kind of like Kentucky. You don't want to play them on the road because they could be ranked in the top 25 and they can beat you. You just played Alabama, very emotional game. You had to play your hardest. Now Missouri on the road, who is a pretty good team, I think they get you there. I do have them rebounding against South Carolina though, so a bad Missouri loss, but I mean, I'd rather, if I'm an A&M fan, I'd rather beat Bama and lose to Missouri than lose to Alabama and beat Missouri. But you can interchange those depending on what you think, but I have a feeling they'll lose one of those games. Possibly both, you never know. But I do have them losing to Missouri and beating South Carolina. Then they get a bye week, and I think that's a good time. You kind of get to regroup before some more difficult games for the rest of your schedule. Next up is Auburn. I think they should be able to win this. I know the road team has done better in this series, but A&M it's still home field advantage. You still want home field advantage, and I think the Aggies will be able to get a win there. Then Ole Miss, I know it's on the road. They're going to be a good team. How can I have them losing to Missouri but not losing to Ole Miss? Missouri's right after Alabama. They're going to be beat up. Playing Auburn, you're not going to be as beat up. Plus, I already have Ole Miss getting a big upset, and we'll talk about that later. I think the Aggies are able to get that one done. I think they'll also beat Prairie View A&M before playing LSU. You've got the playoffs rumbling in your ears. As long as you win this game, you go to the conference championship game. You'll play Georgia, or, if something crazy happens, Florida. I think it's on the road, rivalry game. LSU maybe a little bit worse, but it being like those other two things, it being on the road and it's a rivalry game, I think that's enough for LSU to pull off the upset. Aggies are probably looking ahead. They know they'll go to the SEC championship. Maybe that's enough because it's a rivalry and they need to win it to go to the SEC championship. That's enough for them to win it. But I don't see Texas A&M getting in over Alabama. If they don't lose this game, then they'll lose to Ole Miss or somebody. And plus, I need another win for LSU and another loss for A&M, kind of like I just said. Actually, that says 11-1. That should say 10-2, so I apologize for that. So I have Texas A&M going 10-2 in 2021. Make sure to leave your comments down below about what you think about the Aggies in 2021. But let's go ahead and talk about LSU. So 2019, one of the best teams of all time, 15-0. Then they go 5-5 in 2020. I think they're much better. They were pretty young last year because they lost so much after 2019. This team isn't going to be close to as good as the 2019 team even this year, but they're still going to be pretty good. You start with UCLA. LSU is the better team, and I know it's on the road, so maybe that equals it out, but I think LSU is good enough to get a win there. I think they're good enough to beat McNeese State and Central Michigan. I mean, those two are pretty easy games. And then they have Mississippi State on the road. I know Mississippi State beat them last year, and now this time it's on the road. However, I think there's going to be enough momentum for LSU to get revenge, knock off Mississippi State, the Bulldogs. Yes, you could see them losing. It's on the road, got to deal with the cowbells, but I think LSU is just going to want it more, and it'll be a very emotional, very hard-fought game down to the wire, but LSU will get it done. I think the revenge factor is, they're the better team, and the revenge factor is enough. Then they have Auburn, kind of like the Texas A&M situation. I think LSU is better. There's so many question marks, and it's at home, so I see them winning that. But then you have Kentucky. Kentucky, I've said this before, I'll say it again, they're very similar to Missouri. You do not want to play them on the road. They're a sneaky good team. And I think LSU isn't quite there yet to be like an 11-1 team competing for an SEC championship. So I'm going to give them the loss to this one. I know it's not after any big game, but it is before a big game, which is Florida. I know Florida's going to want revenge, and if I said LSU is going to beat Mississippi State because of their revenge, why don't I have Florida beating LSU? Well, I just think that Florida may be a little bit better, but LSU, there's a lot wider gap in talent between them and Mississippi State. Them and Florida, it's a lot closer. I don't think the revenge is enough. Plus, if they lose to Florida, then I think they'll beat Kentucky. It's one of those situations. But then you have Ole Miss. You have Kentucky, Florida, and Ole Miss, and all in a row. I think Ole Miss is better than Kentucky and Missouri, but once again, they're a team you don't want to play on the road. I think Ole Miss has a big win in them this year. I said it wouldn't be them against Texas A&M, but I think it'll be them against LSU, so I'll have them losing that, especially after a tough Florida game. This is a great time for a bye week. You may be 6-2, that's what I've predicted. You want to heal up and stuff, get ready for Alabama. Even though you have a bye week, I don't see you beating Alabama. They're just too good, especially because it's on the road. I just don't see LSU being able to win. But looking at the rest of the schedule, I think they rebound against Arkansas. They're getting better, but so is LSU, and it's at home. And they're going to want to recharge and get a good win. Louisiana Monroe should be easy. And then you have Texas A&M, and I already explained. I have LSU winning that one, so I have the Tigers going 9-3. Still not as good as A&M, who I have going 10-2, but I do have LSU beating A&M. You could change some of these around. Maybe they lose to Texas A&M, but then they beat Florida, and then they beat Kentucky, or they lose to Florida and beat Ole Miss. Kind of the same thing, but between Kentucky, Florida, Ole Miss, and A&M, I think they split those and go 2-2. The rest of them they win besides Alabama, so Let me know down below your predictions for LSU as well as Texas A&M, and let me know, or not let me know, make sure to go and watch our new podcast if it's out already. If not, there's a trailer you can watch, and make sure to subscribe if you're interested. I want to thank you all very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you all next time. Take care.